there, and glad you're joining us today on Dr. Teach Me to Parent. Got a great program for you today, particularly if you have junior high and high school kids at home. This is a way to us bring to you some real education as a parent on how to help your kids earn and manage their money. And so we're going to take some time today just looking at the issue of finances and money management, particularly as it relates to your kids at home and you as a parent guiding them and directing them and giving them some real pointers in terms of how to start out a financial plan and a financial process so that as they grow older, they'll have a good handle on the finances of their own life. So that's where we are today, and we're glad that you're joining us. I got a quote for you today just to put it in perspective, and there it is on the screen in front of you. The secret of success: to spend what you have left after depositing funds in your savings account. That's the key issue there. Instead of saving what you have left after spending. So you see the concept there? There are certain things that are first things first, certain things that are priority, certain things in money management that you have to give particular importance to. And here it is, your savings account. And then after you've taken care of that, there are spending obligations that you then have. And you can do it more freely and do it more wisely. So for wisdom today, we are going to be discussing our topic here with Bruce Traub. Dr. Bruce Traub, who is a certified financial planner. This is what he does all day long. This is what he does for a living. Is to help families, to help individuals, to help adults, to help kids, to help parents know how to manage their money and where to put it so that it's there for the future. And so he's a certified financial planner. But I noticed that you have a CKA. That must be a certified kid associate. I don't know. What does that mean?
Something like that. Actually, it's a certification on the same level as the CFP or the CPA, your accountant.
Yes.
But it's Certified Kingdom Advisor.
Kingdom Advisor.
Yeah. And so it's a designation that Kingdom Advisor with the Ron Blue organization has developed. It's recognized by the industry on a par with CFP, CPA.
Yeah.
So it's another designation.
So that would suggest that money really is with purpose.
That's right.
There's a lot of purpose in back of money, and how you use it and how you save it and where you spend it. And
you know what? You don't even need to tell me what your purpose is. All you need to do is show me your checkbook, and I can figure it out real quick.
I can tell you your purpose in your checkbook.
That's right.
I suspect that's very true. Well, Bruce, let me put this in perspective. Most of us as parents, we have our kids, and we want them to earn a little money, so we give them an allowance, or we give them some chores around the house to earn a little bit, or we encourage them when they get into a little older years to start a part-time job, babysitting, cutting grass, whatever they have to do to kind of get a few dollars together. And here we're going to look at this idea of earning income. Mm-hmm. So it's going to earn income and spend, right? I mean,
right.
That's really the idea, isn't it? Or is there other ideas that you have to consider when you look at money, no matter how old you are? I mean, do you save money even when you're a 5-year-old, 8-year-old, 14-year-old, mm-hmm. or is saving something for later on in life? I mean, what's really the kind of the plan for finances? How do you put it in perspective?
Well, I'll tell you, thinking about young kids.
Yeah.
I think we develop habits in terms of what we spend and how we spend. And yeah. I know parents that have done this. My kids have done it with their kids. And whether or not 10% is something you're absolutely committed to in terms of savings, it's a nice, easy figure. Mm-hmm. And I know parents that have started, even from the time they put a kid on an allowance. You get $1 a week. They'll give it to them in dimes. And one dime goes in the piggy bank, yeah. and they get to spend the rest.
That's right.
All right, that ratio. So maybe it's $10. Okay, well, then do it in $1 bills, okay? But right from the start, you save 10, then you can do what you want with the 90. Mm-hmm. If kids start using money that way, it will become a front and center concept for them as they move into earning salary, wages,
I like
whatever.
that idea. You know, you start a pattern, and that pattern really has lifetime implications.
Absolutely.
See, that's going to be how they're going to live their life.
Right.
So as a parent, you got to think, you know, how you want your kids to start out, because that's going to be where they will go and how they will live their life. You know, we did a little differently with our kids. When our kids got to the point where they were earning money, and they all had to work, you know, during high school and so on.
Sure.
For every dollar they earned, 25 cents went to savings, 25 cents went to their church, 25% came to me, 1/4 came to me for gas that I chart them around,
There you go.
and they got the other 25 cents.
Look
to
at
do
that.
whatever they wanted with it.
Excellent.
Per dollar. So they earned $10, $20, whatever. They divided it out that way. So their gas mileage was covered. I don't mind taking them around. They started a savings account. They started a giving system, and then they had something to spend.
Excellent.
What do you think
Excellent.
about that?
I think that's even better because now you're ingraining more than one pattern there from the start.
Yeah. Your
There's
savings,
and giving and covering essential expenses.
Yeah.
Okay? And so those are front and center right from the get-go.
Yeah.
They understand that, so they can't spend all they earn.
Yeah.
There's only a small amount.
It's all amount that they have
Yeah.
choice.
Yeah.
But you know, all 3 kids came out to be excellent money managers in their own life, in their own families now, and how they live their life. They have no problem. They're excellent in the area of money management.
I can believe that.
That's
and
where it started.
And I suspect you and your wife modeled that same type of thing
Well, that's what
in
we
terms
did,
of
and-
how you've handled your
So I think in
management.
terms of parenting, I mean, starting with some plan.
Yeah.
I mean, that's one plan. You had another plan.
Yeah.
I mean, there are other plans. But start with a plan so that you set a pace, you set a tradition, I guess, is really what you want to set up, right?
Well, there's an expectation there. It almost gets to the assumption level. This is what I do. Okay, with maybe not completely without thinking about it,
Yeah.
but what I see most of the time, Ellen, in my practice, is the opposite of that. Namely, the spending happens all right, but it's not carefully thought about. And when the question of giving or savings come up, they say, I can't afford that. I've already made commitments. And
Yeah.
so I don't have the
Yeah.
money to do those things.
Yeah.
They've got it all backwards.
You speak of 5 uses of money.
Right.
Outline that for us, will you? How do you think in terms of 5 different pots,
Yeah.
you know, of money that we all have? We all have that.
Well, one of the mentors that I want to give credit to is Ron Blue. This is his conceptualization. He worked with another financial advisor, and they got this nice, neat formula that they put together. It's easy to remember. It's called Live, Give, Grow. Live, Give, Grow. Okay, let me talk about that. There are only 4 words there: live, give, grow. But there are 5 uses, and let me unpack that a little bit. No matter where you're spending your money, it's going to be spent in one of those categories. So in live is living expenses, rent or mortgage and gas and food and
Yeah, the kind of the daily stuff.
the
that
daily
we-
stuff, food and
Yeah.
clothing, shelter. Okay. Give, well, that's literally your charitable giving. Or if you're committed to following a biblical pattern and you believe that tithing is the right amount, then there's the formula, 10%. Other people say, no, I think Scripture teaches doing more than that. Well, that's a whole area that there's a lot of discussion.
Is that for adults or is that for kids too?
I think that applies to us all.
Really?
I do. I really do.
So a junior high kid who gets a few bucks, yeah, he ought to be giving it somewhere.
He needs to be giving, and that giving obviously needs to come out of the heart and out of what's important,
Something
what
that's
they love.
important to him or he believes in, or
Exactly.
yeah,
Exactly.
you know, but be giving to something.
Exactly.
I see.
Exactly. Now, maybe it's to church, maybe it isn't. There are some people that separate out that giving and they say, well, there's tithe, and then they use a scriptural phrase, alms. That's helping somebody in need. Okay? And some people like to say, I'm helping people in need, so then I don't have to give to the church. We get into fascinating discussions on all that stuff. But giving is one of the categories then. So live, give. Now, Who do you owe? Well, there's this one guy, and he points at you like this. He's called Uncle Sam.
It's the government, yeah.
That's the government. And so you owe taxes. That's an obligation, okay? So live, give, owe. So there are two O's.
But you know, kids don't pay taxes. Is that true?
Well, that's true until they earn, they're earning a little bit more. Initially, they don't. Initially, they don't.
So kids don't have to worry about taxes. They're junior high kids.
Usually the income that they earn is not enough that they have to pay any tax. That's true.
But they should be aware that taxes someday will need to be.
Exactly. And the other one, unfortunately, when they're earning a little bit, I know all sorts of families where even though they're a minor, they have their own credit card.
Oh, yes.
That's the second O.
Ah.
Okay?
Ah.
If you borrow some money, and that's what you're doing when you use a credit card, right? Then you are obligated to pay that back. That's a debt.
That's right.
Live, give, owe. Owe Uncle Sam, owe creditors. Okay, so there are two there. The last one is grow. Margins, savings, for no specific reason or for something very specific. Retirement, college, a special project, your first car, unless mom or dad is going to buy Junior a car, which I wouldn't recommend,
Yeah.
you know, but that's one that even kids can begin to think about in terms of things they want, in terms of their
Save towards it.
save towards
Yeah,
it.
that's what we did with our kids in that 25 cents that went into savings.
Exactly.
It was something that they wanted,
Yeah.
you know, or save for their graduation events that are coming up or some social event coming up. So they had a few dollars to spend when that time came.
Yep.
And they took it out and used it.
Another neat piece there that kind of puts two of those together. Savings, so that they have enough for some Christmas gifts that they
Also.
can buy on their own.
Also,
Yeah.
all
Yeah,
that,
yeah.
Yeah, I always tell parents, at least give the kid a Christmas club
Yeah.
account. At least open a Christmas club account. So there's some way to put a little money aside, and that's a cheap way, a simple way of doing it.
Yep.
And then whether you use it for Christmas or whatever, it doesn't matter, but at
There's
least
some-
you have
there are some funds there.
You have a way, a goal, and a system of doing it. Does that work well for kids?
Very much so.
Or is there a better alternative than a Christmas club account?
You will very early on see spenders and savers in your kids. That you don't have to get.
Is that right?
Oh yeah, you don't have to get married before that pattern emerges. That's I got two grandkids, and one's one and one's the other. One, he can get a blood out of a turnip, and the other one, she can't keep $10 in her pocket. It's amazing
Yeah.
the difference there, and that emerged before their teen years.
When do you recommend a kid having debt? You know, that he borrows money and then pays back on it. I mean, is that something you wait until they're in high school, graduate from high school? Is it something they do in junior high? Is that something they should do along the way?
Well,
Is there any kind of formula?
I don't know that there's a hard and fast on that, but here's a pattern that I would like to encourage. If you're going to put money on a credit card, pay it off at the end of the month. Okay? The credit
Have
card
an
business.
immediate payback.
Yeah, the credit card business would go. They're going to hate me for this.
Oh,
but
they won't like that,
They'd
yeah.
go out of business and
Yeah,
do it.
they want you not to pay so they can charge you interest.
That's right.
Yeah, big
That's
amount
right.
too.
But if the person understands that they're floating a loan and it's an obligation and they need to pay it back, and the cheapest way to pay it back is before the interest hits,
Yeah.
then that use of a credit card, I would suggest, probably ought to begin in high school. Because I was recently teaching a college class and in personal finance and trying to help those students deal with their finances.
Yes.
Big issue, they were living on a credit card,
Ah.
okay, and just stacking it up because they're students.
Yeah.
Okay, that's in addition to their student loan for their tuition. Okay? Some of them were very responsible at it, and some of them had no clue how seriously they were mortgaging their future by doing that. So don't wait to college and send them off to college with a credit card for the
Sure.
first time. That'll create a disaster. I don't know whether they think the money grows on trees or what,
Yeah.
but
But I think it's good to have a kid take some money on a loan and then learn the process of paying it back.
right.
We have a grandson that wanted to buy a tuba, a fairly expensive tuba. So in the course of our discussion, he had some money, and other people had some money. He had some money that he was able to pull together, but didn't have quite enough. So I said, okay, I'll make that difference, but here's what you pay back every month.
Yeah.
And so he agreed to that. He had a contract. We wrote it up, and
Yep.
he signed it. I signed it. No, and he has paid that back on the date.
Yeah.
He has never missed.
Yeah.
That gives me kind of a sense of trust in him.
Absolutely.
And again, that's how credit cards work. If you pay it back, they'll trust you, and they'll allow you to borrow more. You pay that back, and then they'll allow you to take more. Is that how it works?
They'll raise your
They raise it up a little bit.
your credit limit and try to induce you to do some more, and you just pay it off every month. Thank them for the credit line, because that's neat if you had a huge
Yeah.
unexpected expense.
Yeah, if you can pay it back,
But
I
you
mean,
can
why
pay-
not?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think that's the key. That ability to pay it back. It's not the finance ability, but it's that mental personality commitment of honesty and integrity and if
Exactly.
I borrow, I pay back.
You are obligating, when you borrow money, you are mortgaging your future.
All right.
Always.
All right. I can
Always.
see that.
You are saying what I need this money for now is more important than anything else that can come up in the future.
Yeah.
And you don't know
It's
that,
a priority. Yeah, that's right.
but you have now committed yourself to something that means other opportunities that emerge, you may not be able to take care of or take advantage of because you've locked
I
yourself
never
in.
thought about that, but I think that's a very good point. Like and tell my grandchild,
Yeah.
That if you're going to take this money, you're going to borrow it and pay it back, then you have to wait on other things.
Yeah, there are some
You have to
other
lay
things
out-
you're not going to be
You
able
get
to
tempted.
do. Yeah.
I mean, there are things out there you get tempted to buy and want, but you have to wait on that.
Yeah.
I think that's a good idea. That you have to think that through. Or if you have 2 or 3 things down the line that you really want, then maybe you shouldn't be borrowing at all.
Exactly,
Yeah.
and maybe you need to step it up. Maybe 25 cents on the dollar isn't enough on the savings, depending on your priorities.
There you are.
If this is high priority stuff, okay?
Yeah.
Then I'm going to intentionally put more away so that I have it for that future goal that's
There
coming
you
up.
are. Yeah. 5 uses of money. Is there a priority? I mean, we earn a little money. Okay, so we have a part-time job and we earn $200, $300, $400, $500 or whatever it is on a month. We're 16, 18 years of age. What's the priority? Where do you go first on these 5 areas of money or
Well,
the plan that you have for yourself?
right. It's give first. That is, set aside that which you want to give. That, to me, is a personal obligation.
I see.
that I'm committed to. Scripture says, honor the Lord with your first fruits. First fruits. Not if there's any left over at the end of the month.
Well, that was my quote. You don't
Yeah.
give what's left over, you give before you.
Exactly. And so that to me establishes or displays priorities and loyalties. Okay? You have 5 uses of money, and I like to say, doesn't it make sense to do the most important things first? And
Okay.
most rational people say, yeah, that makes
Sure,
sense.
that makes sense, yeah.
All right. Well, then, what's most important to you? And it'll vary, but often people will say, well, it's the Lord. Okay, then if He's most important, then do that one first. Okay. Now, what's next most important? Assuming we agree on that, and we're talking priorities in terms of
Yeah,
use of
yeah,
money.
yeah.
What's next most important? Nearly everybody will say family. I'd say, okay, so how do we talk about spending in terms of family? Probably the category that makes the most sense is savings. To take care of them for unexpected developments. Okay?
And
So-
yourself too.
Yeah.
What's going to be unexpected in your life personally? As a
Exactly.
kid, you're going
So,
to have.
so you have some resources to fall back on.
That's right.
So give, grow.
So put some money in a savings account.
Yeah. And then you've got to meet the obligations that you've committed yourself to.
Okay. So you have some
All right.
debt, we'll say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now you can get around to how much money do I have to spend on clothes and food and that's what you live on what's left. And it might be less than you like or want.
Probably will be much less than you like or want it to be.
But if you've done prioritized intentional spending that way, what happens? The stuff that doesn't get done is the least important.
Yeah.
Okay? Buy your categories. This isn't somebody else telling you what to do.
No, that's right.
You determine what's most important. Fund those first. Live on what's left without going into debt.
So actually, when you say, I earn so much money, that's not really the point. The point is that you peel it off for different things, and now you have a little bit left in a pot. That's really your money.
That's right.
That's really the money you've worked for. That's really the money that you have for yourself.
What's wrong with mom and 3 kids and I don't know, power went out and they said, well, let's go out for hamburgers. And she says, well, let me see. She pulls out her checkbook, looks down. Yeah, we got enough money to do that. What's wrong with that?
Well, there are other things besides hamburgers probably needing to be paid off.
That's exactly the point. She's looking at cash available.
Yeah.
Okay. Probably if that's the system that's being used, the giving, the saving, the grow categories haven't been funded at all.
Yeah. See,
And-
some of that money should have been put over.
That's right.
Yeah.
And then the answer is, sorry kids, we can't do that. We're going to have a can of soup tonight.
Yeah.
That's okay. Let's have a party and do a jigsaw puzzle
But you
or
know,
something.
but maybe right there is a lesson in money management. When you
Yep.
say no.
Yep.
You know, when mom says no or dad says no, we can't handle that. We can do this, but we can't do that. Or we can do it next week, but we can't do it this week.
It's a wonderful
that's a teaching moment.
It is.
That's a teaching moment.
It really is.
Yeah. So kids need to learn. You know, that's true. We can't do everything we want to do. And sometimes we can't do it for a long time.
That's
We got to really wait. We got to save for it. We have to anticipate it.
For a long time.
And then other things we can do next week or
You know, one of the things kids learn, and they're astute learners, and they're great imitators. And they'll watch you, and they'll understand how you're handling your money, maybe better than you do. Okay?
they'll watch.
When you do that kind of thing, you are setting a pattern for them.
You know, a kid watches, and if you are just spending your money at any old thing for yourself,
Yep.
they get the idea, well, maybe she should do that for me too. You know, and mom could just buy whatever I want. Dad buys whatever I want.
That's right.
So it's a pattern.
That's right.
I thought about that. That's good. That's a good point. In terms, you imitate. You set a pattern. You teach by how you think and how you spend your own money.
How you do it. So you're modeling, okay? And that comes back to how are you living your life? What's important to you? And are you doing that on an intentional basis, not just on a reflexive or spontaneous thing? And that's
So it's a very good thing for your children to have a no answer when they ask for something to buy. You say no, we can't do it. I mean, and stick with it.
I'd even go further. No, we can't, and here's why. Okay? We're going on vacation in 3 weeks, and we need $500. Is there enough there to go buy a hamburger? Yeah, but wouldn't you rather go on vacation? Well, we need the money for vacation. That's teaching something pretty profound.
It's kind of priority giving and saving and spending, isn't it?
It comes right back
Yeah.
into play, and they see you and struggle. You can actually encourage them to enter into which would you prefer.
But Bruce, we don't want to disappoint our kids. We don't want to say no to our kids. We want them to have all the benefits of life and all the benefits that we didn't have when we were that age. As parents, we want to give to our kids.
That's wonderful and noble and stupid.
I like the third point.
because you know very well that you can't give them everything they want.
Of course not.
Okay? And everything they want just the way we're
Well,
built.
that list will grow.
That's right.
You give a little bit, and then it grows bigger, and then you give a little that, and
Is there not some virtue in discipline and self-denial and those kinds of things? And I think so often when parents get caught in that trap, they're functioning out of guilt, okay?
That's right.
Or they're afraid that the child is going to push back on them in a way that creates a bit of a scene, but that's a short term, that's a tempest in a teapot, okay? Do you want to establish a pattern that will, for them, create a lifetime of financial stress because they've never learned how to say no to a want that isn't important?
Yeah, there you are. We're all there.
Yeah.
We're all there. I mean, we don't have to be kids to have a want that we can't meet. We're all there. We all have our wants.
That's right.
We can meet them, and we can usually meet our wants. But should we?
Should we?
Yeah. See, that's
back to priorities, right?
yeah.
What's
Yeah.
most important?
Have you given? You know, have
Yeah.
you put something in savings? Have you paid off a debt? Now can you do it?
Yeah.
Yeah. See, now is it possible?
And then you've got some competing ones. There's this or this, but this one's more important. So it's, even though we have the money, it's still, no, we don't need that. I'd rather do this. This is more important. My wife and I, we have those discussions every once in a while.
Hey, every married couple I see,
Yeah.
you know, are caught in that issue between the two of them.
Yeah.
Let alone between them and their kids.
Yep.
I mean, even mom and dad don't agree on spending plans and priorities, and because they've grown up in homes that are different,
Yep.
you know, from each other. I mean, it's wonderful to have a couple come together, husband and wife come together, both coming from a talking family, communicating family, you know, problem-solving family. That's wonderful. But it's even more wonderful if they come both from families that manage money well.
And that's relatively rare.
Ah,
It's relatively rare.
so you have
Yeah.
to learn on the spot.
Yep. And often the school of hard knocks.
You learn that before marriage, don't you?
I
I mean,
wish.
isn't that what engagement is supposed to be about? And a period of time before marriage is to kind of think through some of these issues of.
It doesn't sound very romantic to sit down and talk about doing a budget.
Not a budget. Maybe that's not so good.
Okay,
But just the idea that I have debt. I bring debt to the marriage. You bring debt to the marriage.
Yeah.
We got debt together. How are we going to handle that?
you're marrying debt
We are.
on top of everything
are.
else. Yeah.
We are.
Yeah. And I think there's good premarital counseling that encourages that. And I've talked with some couples where they've got a good handle on that going into marriage. They know and they even understand their differences.
Ah, that's good.
You know,
Yeah.
fiance and fiance, they understand we come at it differently, and they agree on some system. But there are so many that just kind of, they tie the knot and they continue with the pattern until there's not enough money to go around, and now
we're
you
in
have a
crisis.
blow up.
Yeah, we're in a
Yeah.
crisis pattern.
Yeah,
Yeah, the debt hasn't been paid, the interest rate has gone up, and they're in crisis.
yeah,
And they need not have been.
that's right.
They
It's
could have
avoidable.
avoided that whole thing.
Absolutely avoidable.
Just by day one of a marriage, start paying off debt. Start putting money into a savings account. You know, think long term, if you will.
I actually had one couple that said, we're not getting married till our student debt is paid off. Mm-hmm. Now, with the way students are racking up debt now,
Yeah.
they'd never get married. But in previous years, no, that's a commitment we've made.
Mm-hmm.
We'll finish school, we'll pay off our debt, then we'll get married, start family, all
Or
of
just
those.
have a plan to pay for it.
And that
I mean,
works
if two people
too.
have jobs and you have a plan to pay for it, what's the big deal?
Exactly. Yeah.
I mean, it'll happen. Mm-hmm. It's the commitment. It isn't whether you're married or not, whether you have debt or not. It's the commitment to that.
That's right.
You made a statement in your paperwork that indicated that long-term thinking is very valuable. Long-term planning is very valuable. Mm-hmm. You have to have kind of a sense of future. Mm-hmm. You know, when you look at your money.
Right.
You know, we look at it here today. What do I have now? Mm-hmm. You know, left in my account, and I can spend until the end of the month.
Right.
So we're kind of a month-to-month kind of people. But you kind of suggested that there's a kind of a need to think futuristic.
Absolutely. In fact, much of what I do is helping people say, okay, you got your mid-career, okay? Mm-hmm. you're doing a good job saving for whatever college funding you want to provide for your kids. Maybe not a free ride, but you want to help them. Say, okay, how much income do you need when you're no longer able or want to work? Okay, that could be 2 years out. It could be 40 years out. And you know that the task of accumulating a sum of money adequate to sustain yourself, if you will, to give yourself financial freedom. I have a colleague in the industry that Mitch Anthony, and he comes at this whole idea of retirement in an interesting way. He said it really isn't retirement. It's the freedom to support yourself in doing whatever you want to do.
Yeah, but you have the funds to support
But
yourself.
you have, so that's a long-term funding.
Which you save for.
That's right.
You save for in a variety of ways, but
Right.
yeah.
Right. And so I spend a lot of time trying to engage people in, let's think about that scene and what it will take. The sooner you do that, the easier it will be to achieve that goal. Okay, because you have more time for money to compound and grow.
So
and,
if you don't have a savings account at this point in time in your life, no matter how old you are, today's the day to start.
That's right.
I mean, really what you're saying.
That's
I
right.
mean, you can't bemoan the fact that you didn't do something, and you should have.
Right.
But let's start today.
Exactly.
And start that little bit.
And as you do that, tell you what happens. When people start doing that, I work in financial service. I'm a CFP. The word guaranteed is just about impossible to say without getting yourself in trouble. But I'm very close to using that word when I tell people this, because I've seen it over and over and over again. If you start considering prioritized intentional spending of the 5 uses of money the way we've talked about, what you're going to find is your living needs begin to shrink.
Oh.
I don't know how it happens.
Yeah.
But you say, I don't need that. What's happening? I think the dynamic of it is there's something else I'm doing that's more important.
So your priorities may change.
Yeah,
and-
so I
yeah.
don't need this. So I can put some more money over here. And so the want list just about disappears.
Yeah.
The need list shrinks, and you find yourself able to do more and more of that which benefits others. And you're getting joy out of it. You're getting some sense of peace of mind
Sure.
that you're providing for the future. That's such a contrast from the materialistic me first, put it on the credit card mentality that
Yeah.
drives us.
You're introducing an idea here. We're going to come back and talk about it. We're going to take a break here, but, money, joy. We usually don't think of joy along with money. It's kind of a sad thing. We have to pay this. We got to do this. We got to do that. Arm twisted, kind of an idea. But you said something to the fact that using money, managing money, spending money could be a sense of joy, a personal satisfaction. Kind of a good thing.
It ends up being an expression of your values.
Yeah.
Okay?
And when they're all the same,
Yeah. Wow. I mean, there's creativity, there's freedom there. But
Yeah.
when you're doing the things that are most important, that's where your joy and fulfillment is. So again, the priorities and orienting that way makes it easier to say no and easier to say yes, and it just compounds.
think about this. We're going to take a break. A couple kind of going along. They're managing their money fairly well, using your idea of these 5 steps and so on. But they hit a crisis. And, a bill comes that they can't handle. An unexpected event happens in their life, and they're devastated. What do they do when that kind of situation happens? Go get a cup of coffee, and we'll see you in a couple minutes.
The Green Gables Care Home is a 24-hour assisted living facility for the elderly located in Clovis, California, offering spacious private and semi-private rooms which are wheelchair approved, catering to the special person in your life who needs attention and wants to live in a loving home environment. The Green Gables Care Home has assisted living in secured homes for elderly with Alzheimer's, memory loss, and for your loved ones needing assistance with their activities of daily living. Call 559-297-9438 and visit greengablescarehome.com.
Sometimes good intentions hurt rather than help. For just $1.76 per meal, the Fresno Rescue Mission offers more than food. We offer hope. Please donate today.
Do you need a locksmith? Layman's Lock and Safe Service and Repair is available for you. 559-228-1805.
Gained a lot, learned a lot, and got a lot of love. If it weren't for the knowledge that I had gained from the classes at PCC, I probably wouldn't be the mom I am today. See, there it goes.
I would love you to meet my son, Aaron. My situation was very difficult. I didn't know how my life was going to turn out.
We graduated in June 2010 and we got married in July. And through family, the Pregnancy Care Center changed our lives.
The Pregnancy Care Center was a huge, vital part in helping me walk through that pregnancy, in educating me and loving on me during that time.
Choosing a Medicare plan can be difficult and frustrating. Susan Hatch can guide you through the Medicare maze and help find the right plan for you. Susan helps people understand the confusing and drastic changes that occur every year in Medicare. Susan will only recommend plans that will protect your assets and allow you to continue to see your personal doctor. As a 100% independent agent, Susan is not controlled by any particular insurance company to steer a person onto any one particular plan. Susan was awarded the #1 Medicare supplement agent in California. Look for Susan's Medicare question and answers every Monday in the Fresno Bee. Call Susan at 559-307-2287 and visit MedicareToday.net.
The in-house services we offer here at Total Life Change: anger management, one-on-one biblical counseling. We do a marriage enrichment, codependency and chemical dependency one-on-one counseling. We have a relapse prevention piece. We also do a lot of workshops where we inform and educate people on different topics. There is one-on-one individual sessions, and we also have group therapy that we work in a group. We find that can be so advantageous when you know you're not alone. The key is to call, email, online, and get a hold of one of the receptionists here, and we will do an assessment. We are not here to direct, guide, and force. We're here to meet you where you're at, then direct, then guide, and then give you options to break free.
All right, great. Welcome back to Dr. Teach Me to Parent. Today we're teaching you to parent on finances, how you create a financial approach for yourself as parents, but how do you teach that to your children? How do you teach kids how to earn income, use income well, create a savings account, pay their debt off, see the joys of having income and sources of money, but also be prepared for a difficult future. And that's what you have to be prepared for as well. And Dr. Bruce Traub is our expert today on financial planning, and he's teaching us today about finances. So join us now for another little bit of discussion on this topic of personal and family finance. And Bruce, before we took the break, I asked you the question, here's a young couple that's going along in life. He's working, she's working, they have an income, they're handling their bills, they're doing fairly well. Mm-hmm. They're saving a little bit, not a lot, but they're paying a few debts off. They're just kind of managing. And then the virus hits, and a job is lost. Mm-hmm. The roof caves in, and a big expense comes, to them. What does a couple do when they hit a crisis like that? And they're not prepared for it. Mm-hmm. I mean, they weren't having $30,000 or $40,000 aside to handle that. So what do?
Well, there are several choices. Of course, the best one would have been to be anticipating and putting some aside,
but they didn't do that.
So now, I wanted to touch on this base earlier when you were asking about how soon should a child be given a credit card.
Oh yes.
One of the things we did with our youngest is we got her a credit card and had her begin to put some charges on that credit card and then pay them off.
Yeah.
To build up her credit rating.
And a practice of paying off.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. So it was we talked about the practice, and that part was fine, but I wanted to emphasize building up the credit. Mm-hmm. And so
she can borrow.
Exactly.
When the crisis comes.
And that happened. She did that repeatedly, and the amount she could borrow went up and up, so that she had $10,000 or $15,000 that she could borrow. She couldn't imagine why she would ever want to do that, and I couldn't either, but it's a backup for yourself if you need it. Mm-hmm. And the finance company is telling you, we believe you can handle it, okay, and would sure like to make some more money off of you. But that's one way to put it on credit card. A second way to do it is to look at a home equity loan, okay? Oh. Mm-hmm. Okay. Sometimes you can do that. Not all depends on how well you're handling your finances and so on, so the bank might not do it.
But you got to talk to the bank about that.
Yeah.
Have an honest talk.
Now, how old is this couple that we're talking about?
Well, they're 30.
Okay.
30, 35.
There are some other options for people that have some substantial equity built up in their house, but that wouldn't apply to them unless
probably not. Yeah, if you have equity, you can take a loan off your house.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Who do they talk to? I mean, who's the kind of if they needed advice, they go to their pastor? I mean, do they go to a psychologist? Do they, go to their neighbor? They go to grandpa?
Some people do all of the above. And there are very many that talk with a friend. Well, I do this or I do that kind of thing. And then they stumble along. That's the kind of work that I do. Okay? They need an overall perspective, and it requires a certain there's resistance to going to, quote, a money guy, like I'm often called.
Yeah.
There's pushback on that because
you're called a financial planner.
That's right.
And there are others like you. There are many.
Yeah.
So that would be a source.
It should be a good source.
So they go to the yellow pages, if you will, and under financial planning, and find somebody that they might be able to trust.
And if you're going to do that, then do some homework. Okay? Because not everybody that calls themselves a financial advisor or financial planner is one. Mm-hmm. Okay? They'll claim it.
I see.
Okay?
So you got to be a little bit careful.
Well, you want to do some homework. Uh-huh. Would you just go to any doctor that you found in the yellow pages? Probably not. You'd probably ask around, what's their reputation, how long they've been in business, what's their certification. If you're going to rely on the advice that you're getting from a professional, whether it's an attorney or a doctor or a psychologist or a financial planner, you want somebody that's got some experience, that's got some credentials, that is able to listen, okay, that doesn't have an agenda, I know in your practice, Alan, you listen to what and draw out what your client is talking to you about and then interact with that. I do the same thing from a financial perspective. It isn't a matter of what I think. It's a matter of where are they at, and are they at a point to be able to make some decisions that involve saying, I haven't been doing well here. I need to make some changes. I need to take ownership of this issue of my finances.
You know, you introduced the idea that there's kind of a minimum income that people need. Obviously, we like to make as much money as we can.
Sure.
You know, the sky's the limit.
Yeah.
But we can't. I mean, usually that's not the case. That's not true. So there's kind of a certain level, a minimum level that we really do need to have. And beyond that, we're in risk. We're in great trouble.
Right.
How do you figure that amount?
That's good. That's good.
What's the guideline?
We actually use the terms that we've been talking about. The living expense term. Okay. So you've got that. You add to that your debt obligation on a monthly basis. Okay. Then you divide that, as a fraction, you divide that by 1 minus the sum of how much you're giving, a percentage of giving, and your effective tax rate. And the effective tax rate is different.
Yeah, for everybody, yeah.
Yeah. Many people think about that when they think tax rate, they think the marginal tax rate. That is the tax rate you pay on the last dollar you earn each year. It's the very highest level. That's not what I'm talking about. The effective tax rate, you can figure it out for yourself, is your federal taxes plus your state taxes plus your Social Security, otherwise known as FICA, and Medicare. Okay? Add all of those together and divide it by your income. That's your effective tax rate.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah.
So you take that, let's say your effective tax rate is 15 and your giving is 10. So that's 25, right? 1 minus 25 is 75. So the denominator in that fraction is 0.75. And you divide that into the sum of your living expenses and your debt. That will tell you what your minimum annual income must be. Okay?
So an average couple, an average income of $50,000, but they hit a crisis in their life?
I would hope they aren't living on more than 30. Okay?
So if they're living on 30,
that's just off the top of my
and
head.
the other 20 is going to debt and taxes and all the other
savings.
Stuff.
They'll probably be okay.
They might be all right.
Yeah.
But if they're living close to that 50 mark,
no way. Can't do it.
They're going to be in trouble.
And they may not be able to borrow. The bank may not give them a line of credit, or the mortgage company may not give them a line of credit. They may, unfortunately, already have tapped out a good deal of their credit cards. So I know the solution that will be exercised. Go get another credit card.
Yeah.
Okay. And that might be the only way out, but that's expensive.
But you know, there's always that go get another job.
Yes.
I mean, that's what people do. Husband works, wife works, 2 part-time jobs, 3 part-time jobs, you know, different combinations.
Yep.
But you're creating stress in your life.
Huge
You're creating stress for your family. So if by not planning ahead financially, I guess my point is this, if you don't plan ahead financially for the crisis,
right?
That's what's missing in your formula. It's kind of the savings for crisis.
Right.
If you don't save for a crisis, then you're going to be stuck.
Sooner or later.
And if you have to go get another job, you're going to be gone away from your family another now 4, 5, 6 hours. You're putting your family at risk. So your poor financial planning creates a poor family planning arrangement at home.
Poor mental, poor emotional, poor psychological, right down the line. You're putting yourself in a very, very difficult situation, and the sting of it is, it could have been avoided.
Yeah. Just by putting money into pots along the way.
Yep, and doing it on a consistent basis.
Taking your 5 steps to the plan and just making sure that everybody is fed a little bit.
Yep.
Debt is fed, savings account is fed, your giving is up to date.
And guess what? If you pay off your debt, Where do you think that money ought to go?
Back into savings, I would think.
There we go. Wow.
I would.
You can go to the head of the class.
You think it should, but maybe it doesn't. Maybe
Very often.
people always want to have something more to buy.
That's excellent, excellent. That's exactly what happens. We don't have the debt. Now I can go buy that new car or toy.
And I'll go back into the debt again.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Think about you get out of debt, and that interest that you're paying on that debt, that also is money saved. Okay? Stick that away until you have, at minimum, 3 months of income in your emergency reserve.
3 months income. That's the
minimum.
rule. That's the rule of thumb.
Or 6 is better. You know, we financial planners will vary on that. Some will insist on 6. 3 to 6, okay? But in that neighborhood, at least 3. And if you're not there, make that a goal. Just to start putting money away.
Savings, so you have 3 months of income.
Yep.
So when a crisis hits, and it will,
you have some reserves to
you got a little bit to work on.
Yeah.
And you can survive for 3 or 4 months maybe.
Yep.
You know, on that.
Particularly if you tighten your belt real tight.
Yeah, you may do 5 months.
Yep.
I mean, so you're really giving yourself, you're your own bank.
Yep.
I guess in that kind of situation. Yeah.
Oh, it is true. What the rate that you get in your savings account at this point, and you say, well, that's not a very good way to make money because the interest rate is so low. This is not about trying to earn or make money.
Yeah.
This is about having a cash reserve to protect everything else in your life.
Yeah, if you can put it somewhere where you get a little more interest, that's fine.
Yeah.
But you want it somewhere where it's safe and you can't get to it.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. So what is the best bet? Savings account in a bank? Savings account in a savings and loan? Setting up some little bonds?
There's
What's the best bet?
the CDs at this
So
rate.
you have it 3 months from now. So you
Yeah.
have it 4 months from now.
Yeah. Savings account in a bank is fine. I have, with accounts that I work with clients on, we actually have some of their money invested, but it's invested very, very conservatively, and they can get to that money
it's
at
available.
any time. And it's available anytime.
That's what people need.
Without a fee.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they can do better than a savings account or a CD, and people who have been folks our age started out early. Man, if it isn't in a savings account, they're very uncomfortable.
That's right. People have security with that. Yeah.
That's right. But there are ways to have that money invested so that it's secure enough. I have a widow lady that I've structured that for her. We know that with this COVID crisis, markets dropped 40%. She has over $500,000 invested with me, and she lost $3,000. Okay.
She can afford that.
She can afford that. Okay. So it was relatively safe, and she knows she could pull money at any time.
But she'll probably get that back later.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, that's only temporary.
That's right.
Yeah. Say, we've only got a couple more minutes left. Let me ask you this, Bruce. Out there in the audience are a bunch of teenagers. And they've been watching, and junior high, high school kids just graduating from high school now. What's your advice to them? What would you tell an audience of kids that are about 16, 17 years of age, 18?
Well, if you're earning money, it's never too early to start saving for retirement.
Okay. A little bit here and a little bit there builds that savings.
How much do you think, if a kid in high school was able to save $2,000 a year in an IRA account for retirement, how much do you think they'd have at retirement at $2,000 a year?
Well, they would have hundreds of thousands of dollars.
That's right.
I'm not sure what that would come out.
Very close to $1 million.
Is that right?
Yeah. Just doing that, okay? That's one of the things I'm so proud of my grandkids.
How do you help a kid understand that? You don't have to put a lot away, but it's the long term that you keep it there.
That's
and
right.
Don't excess it.
That's why I was back at pay the allowance in dimes and one goes in the savings account.
Yes, yes.
Start now on that savings thing. Make that a discipline. That's just what you do with money. And that will grow in ways that will, people are always surprised. With all the years I've been doing this, I'm still amazed at how much compounded money can grow over a long period of time.
Yeah.
Okay?
We don't think that way, do we?
No.
We think a dollar is a dollar is a dollar is a dollar.
And it's just not the case.
It's not the case.
No.
A dollar becomes $10. It becomes 100. It becomes 1,000.
That's right. That's right.
Over time.
Over
But
time.
that's what you got to have.
You got to get going early and just stay at it. That's consider it an essential expense.
Hey, we've been talking to Bruce Traub, financial planner, and he's available to meet with families and individuals and give some guidance and give some help and give some structure, to their own financial situation. So his names are on the screen in front of you, and you can access him there. But Bruce, I want you to comment about this last little quote, and then with that we'll close. The trouble is that any earning capacity does not match our yearning capacity. Our earning capacity does not match our yearning capacity. That's the problem.
And it is. The thought that went through my mind is wants versus needs.
There you are.
Okay? And our culture encourages us. You deserve it. You've worked hard. You've earned it. Okay? I hear that all the time.
Yeah.
And it's fed. What does the neighbor have? He has a newer car than I do. There's always something. Spend some dollars here. Yearnings, feeding that. I don't know. I think sometimes we get caught in trying to satisfy some of the deepest needs of ourselves as persons with things, with stuff we spend money on.
There you are.
And and that you feed that beast, it will continue to grow, and it will outstrip your earning capacity. Yeah.
Good advice.
Yeah.
Okay, Dr. Bruce Traub has been our guest today, and this is part one in a two-part series. We're going to come back and do part number two as we look at more of the financial arrangements and structures and products that are available for the working and earning adult.
Right.
And how you can look at your future and prepare for your own retirement, and so when you get to that point, you're ready to go.
There we go.
So we'll do that on our next occasion together, and thanks for joining us, and Dr. Teach Me to Parent, and thanks for being here. Bye for now.
When you need a dentist who has a passion for superior aesthetics and comfort, you need Dr. Christopher Wong with Cedar North Dental. Call 559-432-4948 or visit cedarnorthdental.com.